Welcome to the Sideboard here at the StartsToGames.com Open Series in Indianapolis. I'm Glenn Jones. I'm here with Brad Nelson. That was excessive. Okay, Brad, so you're playing Junk Rights, a deck you championed as being pretty excited about getting to play this week.
Yeah.
You think it's very well positioned, and I just want you to tell me why.
Yeah, so the format right now is settling down to an Esper control deck that just runs lands to beat you.
Sure.
And two mid-range decks, Jund and Blue-White Red. They're both very mid-range, in my mind at least, for when I'm trying to build a deck. They both do similar things. Reckoner and Hot Master are kind of the same thing. They both have like a big end game and like Garrick or Sphinx's Rev to gain card advantage. And then the last piece of the pie is aggressive decks, hyper aggressive. There's no more mid-range. There is this nigh mid-range, but it's not really high percentage. Most of it's just Burning Tree Emissary aggressive decks. Sure, there's like some combo and Humanimator out there, but that's not really that big of an issue. Like if I play against it and lose, I'm not going to sideboard for it. So with all that, there isn't a lot of these mid-range like Rest in Peace matchups that pushed out the Junk Reanimator decks from the past. Like a lot of Bonfires, Rest in Pieces, a bunch of creatures. Because when you Rest in Peace a deck like this, if you have the same cards that they have, you're just in a way better position. Like you're both Thratus decks, except I only get half of my cards.
Makes sense.
And so now that everything's hyper aggressive, even if they have removal, you still get to trump them with cards like Centaur Hero, Restoration Angel, Rock's Faith Mentor, Thragtusk, and Angel Strike. So your cards are still castable and good. And that's why when it's hyper aggressive, a deck like Junk actually exists in a format.
Well, obviously you came prepared to beat on the hyper aggressive decks a little bit.
And that's all I lost to.
All you lost to? Okay, perfect. You got the four main deck Centaur Healers. You can obviously turn to them off of your various mana elves. Got Resto Angels, Thragtusks, and then you're just the whole Rights engine. Obviously you can value off Flaming Souls, but the big whammy is Rights into Angel Serenity or Crater of Beaming, depending on position.
Yeah, and I came into this tournament thinking I was going to only play like one Crater of. It wasn't like my essentials. Like I kind of want 4 Angel Serenities, and now I still wanted a 4th in the sideboard. But like I killed. All 4 of my wins were like Crater Hoof kills. And I even got to Restoration Angel in my Crater Hoof just to give my Avacyn's Pilgrim +2/+2 to kill him. it was amazing.
Well, one of the better lines, I imagine, of the tournament. What's interesting to me is that this is like another Gavony Township deck that's starting to see play. We did a deck tech with Andrew Shroud on Prime Speaker bands earlier, a deck that just won the Classic Series and is suddenly shut up. I know you probably know BBD's like champion of that deck now. Why do you think Township has suddenly just kind of surged back into the front of the metagame?
I mean, to be honest, I don't even think Township is that great right now. It's fine, but like, it's good against Blue-White Red when you have nothing else to do. Okay. It just gives you this consistency. It's really bad against the hyper-aggressive decks because if you have enough guys in play to stabilize, then you're stable.
Right, you didn't really need the Township.
Yeah, you didn't really need the activations. Sure, it's unbelievable on a Rock's Faith Mentor, though. It feels so good to start pumping that guy up. But for the most part, it's if your deck functions. But a deck like this, adding a couple more force doesn't even make it that much more consistent. And it does give you this, like, Game B plan against Rest in Peace. And the best thing it does is it lets Centaur Healers and Thragtusk Beasts, which are...
The Bradley.
I'm getting there. 1 second. This is important enough. Brad Nelson tokens. It lets you through Restoration Angels, and that's really good to be able to attack into Restoration
just
mana.
Breaking up the stalemates.
Yeah.
So, for you think the Township's basically more of a value add as opposed to other decks?
Yeah, I'm not. There's never been I need to get a Township and activate it as a key strategy. It's mostly if it gives me a land that I can top deck when I'm drawing too many lands, and I can do something with it.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's move on to the sideboard.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. You've got your old buddy Somberwald Sage has made another appearance.
Yes, it has.
The 0-1 that could. So why board Somberwald Sage? And more importantly, where are you bringing him in?
Okay, so the thing about Somberwald Sage is if they have Graveyard Hate, these cyber aggressive decks, they don't have a lot of removal. So they bring in their Hate. They already have that 30+ creature package with the Brain Trees and the hyper aggressive, and so they can't really get your Somberwald Sage off the board. And I don't want Umbera Rights in my deck. I actually take Mulch, Umbera Rights, even a Grizzly Salvage out of my deck, the Crater Hoofs, and I just turn into a green, white, black, it's mostly just a green-white blah deck. Like, I have some black removal, but, like, I'm just trying to put Faith Menders and Angel Serenities on the board, and a turn 3 Angel Serenity beats almost all these hyper-aggressive decks.
Sure.
And that's what I found to give me higher win percentage, because they do kill you by turn 4 if you don't do anything. So Umbera Rights is just too slow of a card. Game 1, it's fine, because you can still just, like, Tusk a bunch of times, but it's not consistent enough, and I want more consistency. So Somberwald Sage is an Umbera Rights. Like, you should treat them like the same card. They're both doing the same thing. They're fragile, but instead of being vulnerable to graveyard hate, it just lets you hard pass it.
Sure, I mean, and obviously you're really capitalizing on them boarding in hate, which is usually going to cost them a turn on their clock when they have to cast a Rest in Peace or something like that.
And the other big matchup it's good for is other Reanimator decks and other, Humanimator and Junk. Like, being able, like, I did write about this deck, and I would have given the information out if I had it at the time, but I didn't have Sunworld Sage in my deck. But then I thought, well, if people are going to start playing Junk, I don't want these Deathrite Shamans, because the Sunworld Sages are better in the mirror, and they're better against Humanimator, just being able to power out your draw.
Makes total sense.
Yep.
The next card, you've got a full playset of Acidic Slimes.
Crack, fetch, take 2 Ungodly Woods, son!
And Cavern of Souls. You have a second Cavern of Souls.
Yeah.
So this lets you kind of shift into like a Ponza style scheme.
Well, and that's another thing that's skewed in the format is these Esper control decks are not killing you in any other way besides Jace or Drownyard. And they have recipes in their deck, so Acidic Slime's already good. You do want your graveyard in that matchup. But they can't beat Cavern on Ooze and just casting Acidic Slimes and Restoration Angels and Aberrates over and over again. They just fall to them. And you want to kill the recipes, obviously, but you just destroy their lands all game. Same strategy I do against Blue, White, Red. Yes, they do have Boros Reckoners, and sometimes those are an issue. But if you just kill their lands, they can't win the game. Like, they just need a density of mana for their Sphinx's Rabs for anything. So it's very important to use these 6 times very aggressively. And I have already had the decision 3 times this tournament to either cast Thragtusk or Acidic Slime against Control deck, and it's been Acidic Slime hands down every time.
I'm impressed. The 2/2's doing good work for you. And the additional Cavern, do you bring out a land or do you just go up a land?
Oh, I cut an Arbor Elf for the Supreme Verdict.
Right, that makes sense to avoid all the
I take out the healers and 1 Arbor Elf from that, bring in that 5 package against both Blue, White, Red, and Esper. It's the same sideboard.
Now, you mentioned you want to add this 4th Angel of Strength.
Yes. So after I sideboard against aggressive decks and I board out my Rights and my Mulches, I am Threat Light, and that was more of an oversight coming into the tournament. I even brought that. That's the 76 card I brought to the tournament. And then I decided against it. But if I did this tournament over again, I would cut both Severs out of the sideboard, and I would play a 3rd Tragic Slip. It's very good against Blitz, and I swear, I am so angry that I lose to Blitz all the time with that, whatever I play. It's just like, I make this baby and I play with it, and then it just grows up and beats the hell out of me over and over again. It's
Hoisted by your own petard.
It is, exactly. No, I liked my way of saying it better.
Sure.
It's a little more subtle.
Mine is pretty cliche, I'll give you that.
Yeah, yours is wordy.
A little trite, perhaps.
But yeah, I would play a 4th Aegis Running. Not only is it good in the mirror matches, where you do want Acidic Slime, if you play this deck and you run into Junk Mirrors, you just want to Somber Roll and Acidic Slime them as much as possible. And then you use your Serenities to make sure like their mana guys are clear. But you just aggressively attack their mana and things like that and hope they don't do anything. I think that's better than Deathrite Shaman.
Makes sense to me. All right, Brad, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
If you guys were listening, I'm sure you can tell that we're in a crowded room here.
There's like, oh, Brad again?
People everywhere.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, probably no one clicked the link, but just in case.
I did.
The noise.
I did, and I commented, and I liked my comment.
Oh, man. But appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to have plenty more of the Open Series this weekend, so catch you then.